Today we are going to talk about solo travel, a place
Okay.
that everyone thinks of doing a solo trip at some point in their lives.
Okay.
It's yours.
Everyone's dream.
Right.
But when you're alone, I think the best thing to do is to use the fantastic rail network that is
Yeah,
in
it's
Europe.
amazing.
You want to do Western Europe, you want to do Northern Europe, you want to do Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Mediterranean Europe. So break it down into places.
3 places that you could think of that, okay, I would like to do a solo trip with.
Anywhere in the Arctic region, because I want to experience the quiet and the solitude that happens in the Arctic wilderness.
Which one is it?
It's Vietnam.
Great solo travel destination. One is the coffee obsession.
Absolutely agree.
It is often known as the motorcycle capital of the world.
Yeah.
And if you land into Ho Chi Minh, you just see thousands and thousands of bikes that are there. What is
And
it?
here it is, New Zealand.
The adventure capital of the world.
Spectacular scenery of the world.
The bungee jumping capital of the
The
world.
land of the long white cloud, Aotearoa.
Wishing everyone a very, very happy new year. Happy new year to you, your loved ones, and I hope you started making your resolutions. Today's episode is all about solo travel. So, we've changed the format a bit as we enter 2025. You can see that there is this bowl out here, and today we are going to talk about solo travel. What Sunila and I decided was that we'll pick about 6 destinations that we have traveled to and we put those 6 destinations out here. But in the interest of time, we are not going to discuss 6 destinations. We are going to discuss 3 destinations. Now, all of these destinations are destinations that both of us have been to, and both of us at some point in our lives have done a solo trip to these destinations. So we are quite excited, but let's see what the bowl comes up. So, Sunila, I'll let you pick the first one. Go for it.
Sure, Neil. Okay.
Which one is it?
Vietnam.
It's
Something
Vietnam.
that we have been talking about and we love.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Great solo travel destination. When was your trip to Vietnam?
it was like, I think, a few years ago.
Okay.
Just about 3 or 4 years ago. So I had a really great time.
What was the itinerary like?
Neil, I did all of Vietnam when I did my trip, and I started in Hanoi, and then I went to Da Nang. From Da Nang, I went to Hoi An,
Yeah.
and I also went to Hue, and then after that, I came to Ho Chi Minh, and then I flew back out. So it was like the most of it.
If
And
I
you've been there
yeah,
too.
I did a 15-day trip.
Oh wow!
15-day trip all through Vietnam. You kind of realize that Vietnam is a destination where you can do everything. And thankfully, it was a solo travel trip. If I think about how it started and how it ended, started in Ho Chi Minh. From Ho Chi Minh, took a bus, and that time, Vietnam buses, all of them have Wi Fi. So that's pretty cool. Ho Chi Minh to a place called Mune, which is a beach destination. From Mune, went to Nha Trang, which is often known as Vietnam's Phuket because it's a beach destination. You can do scuba diving there. There are great waterfalls. From Nha Trang, took a flight, went to Da Nang. From Da Nang, went to Hoi An, picked up suits for myself. From Hoi An, back to Da Nang. From Da Nang, wanted to go to Halong Bay. So took a flight to not Hanoi but Haiphong,
Okay.
which is a Haiphong pier, it's called. From there, went to a place called Cat Ba Island, stayed at Cat Ba Island, then took a Halong Bay cruise, came back to Hanoi and back. So 15 days, explored all of Vietnam, ate to my heart's content, and yeah, like crazy, crazy country. So let's start with the first question if you are thinking of Vietnam. And anyone from India who's thinking of going to Vietnam will be like, is it safe to travel across Vietnam? And what should one be mindful of if I'm doing solo traveling?
Neil, I think, whether it's Vietnam or any other destination, when you're traveling solo, safety comes first and it's on top of your mind, especially when I was traveling as well. I think anyone, man, woman, whoever's traveling, safety is the most important thing. Coming to Vietnam, I thought, and I'm sure you felt the same, it was a very safe destination.
Yes.
Very, very safe. And the good part is that because it's a little easy on the pocket, you can actually, even when you're doing solo travel, you travel by bus. I had the luxury of having a private car to myself, a driver and car, and it was not that expensive, so it was really easy. And what then happens is you have the driver with you and who can take your photos wherever you go, so you don't have to depend on a selfie stick when you're
Yeah,
traveling. I
exactly.
thought that was a big help. And secondly, in actual local information, so a lot of small things and local stories I picked up from the drivers, because they actually tell you, they know the heart and soul of the country,
Yeah.
right? So for example, you have these little temples that you keep seeing in Vietnam everywhere. And then he told me that, even in his house, how he has this little temple outside, and that's actually for the ancestors. So it's
Yeah.
something like they have all these temples that are built for the ancestors. So small things that these people bring across, I thought that was really good. Secondly, suggestions for food. Like, of course, you have all your the food lists and the food bloggers and Instagram and other places.
Everything.
But when you want the most authentic food, I've often found it's the locals who will give you
Yeah.
that. So I thought traveling with a driver, it really, ticked off the safety aspect and so much more for me.
Great. So, a great start to the episode. And I would like to clarify a point here for all our listeners. When we are talking about solo traveling, we do not mean only backpacking. Solo traveling can be budget friendly, solo traveling can be luxury, solo traveling can be you going and spending what you think is apt for that destination. So there is a misconception all across that solo traveling is only backpacking. We have had someone who went on a solo travel trip to Georgia and they did only luxury properties, luxury experiences. So that's that. And Vietnam, I totally agree, is value for money, whatever you want to do. So, when we were listing down these 6 destinations that go into this pot, I actually sat down and came up with 5 or 6 reasons for each of these
Okay,
destinations. Yeah. And I kind of wrote them down on my phone,
perfect.
right? And these 6 reasons are why someone should do this solo travel trip to Vietnam now that we are talking about. One is for Vietnam is the coffee obsession, right?
Absolutely agree. I
If
was
we
coming
walk
to
into your
that.
cabin,
Yes.
like there'll be Vietnamese coffee just sitting there, right? So they have, what was it? The egg
I will
coffee?
tell you all the
Yes.
coffees I had. So of course I had the Vietnamese coffee, which is what we get here, which is a strong coffee made with condensed milk. I may miss a few actually because I had so much, but that was my absolute favorite. Now again, this you can have it hot or you can have it cold,
Yeah.
and Vietnamese coffee it's amazing like that. So with condensed milk, that is the first one. The second one that I had was the egg coffee. And when you say egg coffee, it doesn't sound very appetizing, but it's actually like custard. It's like
Yeah.
having a nice custard. So again, that was possible hot and cold. So I had the egg coffee. Then I had one with coconut milk in it, and that was so tasty because by then I was happy to experiment. So everywhere I went, it was like, now which coffee shall I have? So I had one with coconut in it, which was really nice. And again, everything is either hot or cold. Then when on Halong Bay, actually, they got me one that was made, Neil, in the traditional style. So you had like a little filter sitting on top of the cup, and then they, pour the coffee in it, and then it filters down into your cup. And that was a nice hot coffee, which was the very traditional
Yeah.
Vietnamese coffee. And I think the cake goes to this weird coffee I had, but it was a beautiful restaurant close to Hoi An. And I went there, and it was all this pinks and blues and all these bright colors. And then I was sitting facing a field, and they had a set menu. But the coffee that she made me try there was actually a fish coffee. So it had a fish sauce, a drop of it, just to give it that little salty flavor. And it was amazing. I mean, I didn't expect it to be good. I was, telling myself all the time, okay, be ready. This may taste weird. And then after this, I promised myself I'll have a normal Vietnamese, but it was actually quite nice and
You
interesting.
know,
So,
fish,
many types of
that is the
coffee.
second reason that I had, was it's not a reason, a unique fact about Vietnam. Fish sauce is literally a staple in Vietnam. And that doesn't mean you don't get vegetarian food there, but you get great vegetarian food. But fish sauce, it is said that a local Vietnamese consumes about 3 to 4 liters of fish sauce every year. That's how
Wow.
much fish sauce they use. But okay, you've given us enough reason. Just if you're a coffee lover, you can go to Vietnam.
Yes.
A second thing is, if you're adventurous enough, you go there for unique and weird foods, right?
Yes.
Because if you think about Vietnam, you will get snake wine there. You will get wine made from a bird's nest. You will get a lot of dishes which will have snakes in them. Another reason why you should go there is it is often known as the land of or the motorcycle capital of the world.
Yes.
You can rent a bike, you can roam around, but crossing Vietnamese roads, they say, is one of the most challenging things you will ever do. In spite of us crossing the roads here in Mumbai, like crossing Vietnamese roads, because there are bikes coming from everywhere.
Everywhere.
And if you land into Ho Chi Minh, you'll just see thousands and thousands of bikes that are there. So we discussed the plan and everything. Do you think there are other reasons to visit
Neil,
Vietnam in
there's
your
so many
opinion?
reasons, but you spoke of food, so let me continue with food first. And like you said, vegetarian Vietnamese spring rolls. Mostly the fresh Vietnamese spring rolls are vegetarian and so tasty. And I think one of the best things to do is, I generally don't like buffets, but Vietnam was one place where I
Oh
really
yeah?
didn't mind it because there was this whole range, especially on the Halong Bay cruise. You have this big spread laid out, and then you have the option to choose and pick and choose what you
Yeah.
like. So it's one of the best places to try that. I also experimented with a really nice upmarket restaurant and also on the streets. Like in Ho Chi Minh, you have the street food, and actually they give you these little tiny little
Very
stools to
small
sit on,
ones,
very
right?
small
Yeah.
ones, and you really wonder how will I. You're so close to the ground, and then you learn to ignore everything else. And yes, it is a little bit, I would say, for seafood lovers and meat eaters, it's a little better out there. But I did see a pani puri stall on the
What?
streets of Ho Chi Minh. So that was insane. And I kept looking at them again and again. And there was actually in the middle of all the Vietnamese food, and it said something like Indian something. So there was pani puri in the middle
Where
of
you
all
can
that.
trust Indian food to go everywhere,
Everywhere,
right?
right? Yeah. So that is crazy. And I think what I feel about Vietnam, especially since we are on the topic of Vietnam, is from the Mekong Delta to the other places, you have amazing experiences everywhere, right? Like in the Mekong Delta, there is one stop you take where they serve you really fresh fruit, and then there is this person singing. So what I felt was it didn't matter if you were alone. It did not matter if you
Good
were
point.
doing a solo trip. And especially in Hoi An, I felt it a lot because it looks so pretty with all those
Hoi An is
lanterns.
probably the prettiest town I've ever
Prettiest. Like
visited, yeah.
I feel if I go back, or not if, when I go back to Vietnam, I will spend a longer time in Hoi An and just walk those streets
Yeah.
because you have funny conversations with people. I saw a person making beautiful artwork from these stems and roots that were just lying by, and he made faces of Vietnamese people. It's hanging in my balcony right now, and all with the beard and everything, and in broken English we were communicating. It was one of the most fun things. After that, having a meal there, having some pho, the soup out there, the coffee, and then doing a massage by the river, like just a foot massage. And it really didn't matter if you were with people or alone. Like I didn't feel lonely or alone in Vietnam anywhere. And I think that really is a big plus for the
And
country.
Hoi An is a car-free town, right? You can
Yes.
just cycle over there,
Yeah.
not even motorbikes allowed. And I guess as we reach the end of the Vietnam section of our podcast, I would like to say that, one thing that you should definitely get back from Vietnam is the clothes, right? Like,
Yes.
and Hoi An is like, you go there in the morning, you give
Yeah.
them your measurements, by evening you have it ready, and
Correct. It's
probably the
fabulous.
best
But if you want a
material.
suit, I would say again, something I realized is go on the first day itself
Yeah.
because with your suits, they like to give you a trial, which is fantastic. So even if you're staying for 2 days, you still come back with good quality
Yeah,
suits
made to measure,
made to
right?
measure
Made to measure.
completely.
Awesome. First
Yes.
destination done. Guys, go to Vietnam. It's safe. It's amazing. It has everything you can think of: waterfalls, beaches, 100 other things. It is the weird food capital, weird drinks capital, motorcycle capital of the
So
world.
Instagrammable. Everywhere you go,
Yes.
you have so many photos. The hand of God, so many other things. The bridge,
Yeah.
the Golden Bridge. There's so many things that you could just keep taking photos of. Halong Bay, Mekong Delta. We mentioned all the other
Yeah.
places as well. So yeah,
I think we've
it's
convinced
great.
um, people enough that they should go on a solo trip to Vietnam. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm going to pick
Yes, your
this one.
chance.
Not a country, but a place
Okay.
that everyone thinks of doing a solo trip at some point in their lives.
Okay.
You have done a solo trip there. I have done a solo trip there.
Okay.
It's a continent
Ah.
that is the only continent in the world that doesn't have a desert. It has countries that are smaller than New York Central Park. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's Europe.
Everyone's dream.
Right.
Everyone's dream.
So, Europe, the simple answer is do a solo trip.
Right.
But Europe is massive. I think 44 countries or something like that. How does one get down to planning a solo trip around Europe?
Neil, that is tough, but I think, it's probably easy to break it down
Yeah.
and not plan to do all of Europe unless you've like left your job or you've taken a sabbatical or you really have like 4 5 months in hand. Then you can attempt to do all of Europe. I would say otherwise break it down into parts. The best part of Europe, like I've been to Europe with my friends as well, with family as well, and done solo trips as well. I would say here with friends and family, when you go, you could probably drive, take a car and do a self drive, and we've done that in many different parts of Europe. But when you're alone, I think the best thing to do is to use the fantastic rail network that is
Yeah,
in
it's
Europe.
amazing.
And you can buy different kinds of passes, the train passes, which give you a lot of other attractions too. It gives you a lot of extras, and it's the most sustainable way to travel too, right? So I think pick up a pass, make your route. So maybe you want to do Western Europe, you want to do Northern Europe, you want to do Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Mediterranean Europe. So break it down into places. And yeah, if you want to, of course, combine, say, Scandinavia with Greece or something crazy like that, go ahead, take a flight in between, but then again stick to road travel or
Yeah.
train travel when you reach there.
I like the fact that you mentioned that pick a part and plan your trip around
Yeah.
it. One mistake that people often make when they think of a solo trip to Europe, they want to do Croatia also, they want to do France also,
Yeah.
and they want to do
Doesn't
Spain.
really
And then
work.
you'll be doing a lot of travel in between. So there's often this thing that we discuss, right? One of the most popular itineraries are the one that begin in, say, let's say London and end in Rome or Milan, right? Because it's an amazing route that takes you through almost all of Western Europe. Again, I'll start. Is it safe? And it's different countries we are talking about. So you can't just say it is safe or not safe. Rather, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the precautions one should take when they are traveling across Europe? And if you're solo, then you often think that, okay, I'm on a train and what if I fall asleep? Like it'll be fine or not. So, what are some precautions you would take if you were doing a solo trip today?
Yes, Neil. I mean, the question whether something is safe is really subjective today. So you
Correct.
can't really say that one place is safe and the other is not. Of course, there are certain pockets in certain cities that you would probably avoid. You would avoid just venturing out late in the night. Then again, if you're traveling in summer, you have daytime till 10 or
Yeah.
11 in the night. So there's nothing really dark or dingy anywhere. And, use that time. Go in summer if you really want to stay out longer. Which doesn't mean that you can't go out partying when you're alone. You can, but stick to places that you know are good. Avoid some stranger offering you to take you somewhere. I would avoid that. I would stick to places I know. I would stick to people I know, or just some recommendations that come from the hotel concierge. They are usually safe. Like you cannot go wrong with somewhere when the hotel tells you that this would be a good place to go, and they also warn you that avoid going here and there. A few of the things I've noticed when you travel alone, and this would, of course, be in Europe because you're traveling by train, or it could be anywhere because you're traveling by plane. Very often, we tend to leave our bags or our passports or our valuables. Like, say, you're going to the washroom, right, and you're alone in a train, you tend to just leave it on the counter and go because we want the world to be a safe place. We
Yeah.
assume it to be. And the same thing happens in flights. But I just heard recently that there have been some thefts on flights too.
Yeah,
So,
because you're,
like, you
yeah.
don't know who's there, who's coming, and who's going. So, just avoid it. I usually keep a very small pouch with me whenever I travel, like a crossbody, which holds my passport or which can hold my phone and everything, and I take it with me everywhere I go. Just keep it on your person, make sure it's with you, because wherever you go, it's going to happen. Of course, when you're traveling, don't display it too much because it's so easy for someone to pull it
Yeah.
off your neck and run away with it, right? So just be careful. Being careful, not being too flashy, usually works. The jewelry again can be artificial, can be whatever, but limit it is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather enjoy the destination more than focus too much on what I have with me. Yeah.
Well, Europe is the most visited continent in the world, right? So, anyone who's watching this, I don't think they need reasons to go to Europe.
Right.
Rather, I wanted to reframe a question that I had thought of was that if you were to think of a solo trip to Europe for yourself, what are three places that come to your mind? And they need not be part of the same plan, but three places that you could think of that, okay, I would like to do a solo trip here.
So one country on my mind, which I wanted to go this year but I could not, is really a dot on the map of Europe. You probably don't even see it, and that is Malta.
Okay.
I want to go in there and just be by the, because it's going to be like Italy, but different is what I feel it is. But that whole thing that it's so small that you can go across anywhere, and that is one place I would self drive. I think because it's small enough to get anywhere. So that is
Great.
one place that, and I love driving there. So I think that is something I would enjoy. Good food, good cultural aspect to things to see, and all of that. So definitely, I think Malta is on my list when it comes to that. The other place where I want to go for a solo trip, Neil, is quite popular, quite well known, but I still want to do it alone because I've had a chance only once, but that was just for a day, and that is Paris. I want to go to Paris alone because I want to go and see all the museums, all the art galleries, all the different regions of Paris.
Yeah.
The Latin
Neighborhoods. Yeah.
Quarter, the neighborhoods, and just walk. Like, I think in Paris, my itinerary will be just walking and
Yeah.
walking and walking. And shows like Emily in Paris and the others have
Yeah.
really showcased maybe a part of what it offers. There's just so much more, and it's so well connected. So I think at Paris, I would probably even keep a very flexible itinerary and say, hey, tomorrow I want to go to Nice, just take a train and go. Or tomorrow I want to go to the Champagne region, just go there. Or tomorrow I want to go to London, just take the Eurostar and go as well. So I think that is again one place that I would
I think Paris is one
definitely
of those
go.
places where you could spend a week and you've not seen it
Yeah.
entirely. And people often think that only the Louvre or
Yeah.
the Seine or the Eiffel Tower are places you need to visit. But trust me, I've been to Paris 3 times in my life and I don't think I've seen enough.
Yeah.
What is the third
And the
place?
third place I think would be anywhere in the Arctic region.
The Arctic.
Yes, probably Finland or Norway or Sweden, above the Arctic Circle, because I want to experience the quiet and the solitude that happens in the Arctic wilderness.
Yeah.
And they have special tours for that. So you can go off into the wilderness, and the only thing maybe you see is a reindeer, or you can float. Arctic ice floating is again something where imagine the bliss and the quiet, and then I mean, save up for it, and after everything's done, say stay in a glass igloo or something, and hopefully see the northern lights dancing across. But just that feeling of being quiet and experiencing nature, I got a taste of it in Svalbard, because
Yeah.
in Svalbard I also took the snowmobile. And then once of course we were a group still, we had joined a group, and I went across, but there came a point where he made us stop and just hear and listen to the silence there. And all of us decided to go a little away from each other so we don't see each other. And that was a small taste I got of that Arctic silence. So I think
That gives
is
me an
one
idea
reason.
that at some point we should do an episode titled No Phone Holidays, because
Yes.
the Arctic sounds like that, where you're just sitting in that calm
That's a
zen.
great idea.
Yeah, like no phone holidays. How would they be, and
Yeah.
what are some of the great places you should do? Because today we are clicking photos, wanting to upload them on Instagram and all of that. But maybe now that we are recording this episode and it's going to be out as the first episode of the new year, maybe I should also add a no phone holiday to my bucket list and Heta's
And
bucket
maybe we
list.
should do that every year. Have one
Yeah,
no phone holiday
one no
every
phone
year,
holiday, even if it's for
Like,
2 days,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so yeah, Heta's been telling me go for Vipassana, but this could be my Vipassana. So,
Oh, if you want to do a modern Vipassana, just take a train in Switzerland, Neil.
oh yeah,
They have a silent compartment. So I was, I discovered this on one of my train travels in Switzerland, and I saw that no one was talking to each other, and I said, "What is happening?" And I said something, and someone came and told me to keep quiet, and they pointed to a sign, and it said, "This is a silent zone." So if you nobody utters, you can hear a pin drop there. Like it's that silent. So it's amazing that when they go for work and they're going back home, and this silent compartment.
That's pretty
So
cool.
you can do your Vipassana in Switzerland in a train too.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned those three destinations, the three that were on my list, and in the interest of time, I'll not describe them. One was, of course, Barcelona, often known
Yes.
as the solo travel capital of the world. Second one was Copenhagen. One often I list my top three cities, and Copenhagen features on it, just for 100 reasons. We'll not get into that. And the third one, of course, going to London and taking a tour around the UK. So those three. But
Neil, when you're
yeah.
thinking of that, what I wanted to ask you here, I'm just thinking of it, is would you then do a tour on your own? Like, would you just keep walking on your own, or would you take like a shared tour and meet other people? What would be your choice when it's in Europe?
I mean, I would take a shared tour. We see a lot of solo travelers come on our tours also. And there are a couple reasons for that, right? In a tour, you don't have to plan anything,
True.
right? You don't have to be like,
There's
okay,
no
where should
headache.
I?
Everything's done.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the other reason is that you meet, I guess, like minded people, and you could make friendships for life. Like, I remember when I was in Vietnam, I met this guy from Germany, and even today on Instagram, we are friends. I know what he's up to, he knows what I'm up to,
Nice.
and he'll react to some of my stories. So that's connections that you kind of build for life, right? So, yeah, so that's Europe. Okay, that's great. Europe done. Let's go to the third destination. I'll let
Okay.
you pick.
Okay.
I feel bad for the three other destinations that are going to miss out on this.
And what about all the others on the map? There's
But I
so many
guess
places, right?
the
But we
podcasting
have
team
the
has
whole
given
year
us
for that.
only a set
Yes.
amount of time.
And
Okay.
we have the entire year
Yeah.
and to talk about them.
What is
And
it?
here it is, New Zealand.
Who? What would you call it? The adventure capital of the world.
Yes,
The
100%.
place where
The most spectacular scenery of the world.
no snakes,
No snakes.
more sheep than people.
Yes.
It is also home to the world's largest insect, is what they.
Southern Alps out
The
there
Southern
for you.
Alps.
Fjordland and lakes, and just really
One
nice,
of the
gentle,
countries
warm,
that gets
friendliest
the
people
first
too.
sunrise
Yeah.
in the world. You can the bungee jumping capital of
The
the world,
land
maybe.
of the long white cloud, Aotearoa.
Oh,
That's
yes.
something I would call it.
And the land of the haka also, which is
Yes.
that traditional Maori dance that they dance or performance that they do before sporting games and all of that. Well, we've given enough reasons why you should
And
go
a
to New
land
Zealand.
I love
Yeah.
planning holidays
But
too. I get super excited when someone's going there.
would you say solo travel in New Zealand?
Neil, I've had maybe 2 days of solo travel, let's be honest, because I've been there for work. But those 2 days were the most magical days, and I would do that again and again. Okay, just think of this. I landed in Rotorua. I had a car for myself. I had the keys. I went and picked up the car. I drove. I put on the GPS and everything, and then I drove to the skydiving center. I went and did my skydive. This was on landing in Rotorua. Okay, after of course I was in some other places in New Zealand first, but I came in there. I picked up my car, nice shiny red car. I drove it to the skydiving center. I went up, did my 15,000 feet skydive. I was on really on top of the world. And then I came back down and I went into Rotorua. I was walking around the town. It was just stunning. I think, again, I probably said the earlier 2 days were the best days of my life, but these two really, I think, top the list. So, having seen and done that in New Zealand, I think it would be a great place for solo travel. Maybe it's a good point to go and try it for a longer trip.
Yeah, I guess the land where there are no snakes also, like, that's why
Yes.
hikes are great. I think one of the cool reasons New Zealand kind of is a place for solo travel or whatever is that when you're solo traveling, right, and Australia and New Zealand have this thing about them that everyone is super friendly with you,
Yes.
everyone's pushing you. but there are many activities that you can do,
Yeah.
right? And I have done 2 trips to New Zealand. One was a very short one, work trip. Let's leave that aside. One trip that I did uh, was a trip where I did river rafting. I did the jet boat. I did bungee jumping. I did helicopter landing on
Landing.
the glacier.
Glacier.
I did ice climbing. I did a hike to a waterfall. I did like checking out the whales. So yeah, I guess
I
everything
think for a
exists,
solo
right?
traveler, you must be adventurous
Yeah.
to be in New Zealand. You would love it, right? And all of the things you listed, you could finish it in 3 days, or you can do it for like 7 days or more, and you can do so many different things in the North Island, in the South Island. You can even drive there alone. Like I said, I took the car and I started driving. Yeah, and it's so safe because there are hardly any people that you see on the
Yeah.
road, so it is pretty safe to
We had
go
done an
across.
experiment when we were in Queenstown where we were just hiking up something. And I told my friend that, dude, this country is so safe. If we leave my jacket here and come back tomorrow on this rock, that jacket will still be there. And of course, it was a local, right? So he was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it, right?" And we went and came back. The jacket was still there. It was a popular part of town, but still the same. So it's the Instagrammer's paradise. You
Yeah.
can do a lot of reels, time lapses, and everything. But would you say do North Island and South Island together, and or how do you pick and choose? Because there are so many places that you can visit.
Yeah, that it is difficult, but I would start by picking out experiences first. When it comes to New Zealand, I would say, list down all the experiences that you want to do and then decide. Because Neil, like we know that Queenstown is like the adventure capital, but then Rotorua is the adventure capital of the north. So
Yeah.
just like Queenstown is in the south, you can do all of that and so many more things, canyoning, tubing, river tubing, all of that in the north as well.
Yeah.
And I would say list down all your must do adventure and then start ticking it off and then build itinerary. So if you're a first timer, 100% do both north and south. If you're going back there a second time, just based on what you want to do, then you do both. I would probably just end up doing both the islands, I think, all the time because, on my second trip to New Zealand, then from Auckland, then I went all the way up to Paihia and the Bay of Islands in the north. And it was a completely different experience. And then you can, do Nelson, do so many different places out
We
there,
didn't talk
places you
about
haven't
Milford
been.
and Doubtful Sound
We still
also.
haven't come to that. Come down to the south, do Abel Tasman, Marlborough. There's so many other regions that you wouldn't have experienced on the first. So it depends. Do you like wine? Do you want to do a wine tasting? What type of wine do you like? Based on that, also you can do a trip in New Zealand. The adventure activities we've listed.
So, listeners, that was our third destination. We've spoken about Vietnam, we've spoken about Europe, we've spoken about New Zealand. As we end this episode, Sunila, one tip that you would give solo travelers.
Stop making excuses because very often, Neil, I mean,
On
myself,
point, yeah.
think of it and I think of I had this big list for last year. Why didn't I go anywhere? And sometimes you end up thinking, I didn't get leave. I couldn't do this. It was too late to plan. Or I didn't have anyone to go with. And I think that's where solo travel comes in. Why do you want to wait for someone to be there to go? In fact, one of the trips that we planned for this lady, you mentioned Georgia, right? Luxury trip. She said, I'm happily married, but I don't want to go on a holiday with my husband. I want to go and enjoy life on my own. And she just does trips on her
Yeah.
own. So I think let's stop making excuses right there. Start planning and enjoy that solo travel all by yourself.
Yeah, I guess in that's a great note to end it on. And I would say, in the words of Will Smith, who went skydiving in Dubai, and after that he was like, "This is a message for everyone listening that the best things in life are on the other side of that line of fear." Right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you are planning a solo trip, do it. You just
Correct.
have to cross that line. And I know so many of my friends who want to do, but they just haven't done it yet. So,
You need to
yeah.
put that pencil, that date in.
And once you
Put
do it,
in.
you're just like, your perspective on life just changes,
Changes.
right? And I totally agree. So, I guess let's end today's episode on that. So, everyone, again, wishing you a very happy new year.
Very
and
happy New Year.
wishing like your loved ones a happy new year. May 2025 be the year you celebrate life and make memories with your loved ones. Until next time, see you and happy travels, and make those resolutions because you are going to achieve them this year. Bye bye.